Welcome back to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast. I, of course, am your host, KC Phoenix. And yeah, so I'm doing a daily thought. I had thought about this for multiple reasons to go ahead and do this particular daily thought. So we'll hop into it in just a second. Before I go any further, KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. All right. So daily thought. Oh boy. We're in a full moon in Gemini. Good times. Like I was mentioning in one of my other videos, I have been so giddy over the last 24 hours. I do not know why. I'm blaming it on the full moon in Gemini is what I'm doing. Even though, like I was saying before, Gemini is not a giddy sign. That's usually not their MO. But whatever. So I'm in that energy. I've been cross country 3.5, I guess you could say, times. I think that's right. Actually, no. Yeah, 3.5, because drove to LA, then drove back from LA, then drove to LA again, then here I am in Texas. So yeah, 3.5 times. But when I went the first time, mind you, it was my first time just driving cross country by myself. When I was younger, my parents would take my brother and I, or one of my brothers, and I on a family like trip or whatever, and we would go places. We would go to Ohio. We went to Texas because I have family in Texas. We go to Florida. We just go to other states and stuff. My mother and I would take the Amtrak to Washington because I have family in Washington too, Washington, D.C. So I have family there. Actually, one of my cousins works, where does he work? It's somewhere where it's very, very high level security clearance. where he literally gets to say that's classified. So yeah. But I have family in DC. But one thing I remember when I went on these trips and then when I drove across the country for the first time is I just enjoyed the ride. It was like sightseeing. It's like, yeah, you have, my ears itching, somebody's talking about me. You have the point in mind, like you have where you're going to. And this was sort of the thing in the reading I just did for today. Or not for today, because there was no true timestamp on it, but whatever. It was about, sometimes you just have to enjoy the ride. And pay attention to the sights while you're on your way. And don't get so caught up in what you're going towards. And I feel if a lot more people just enjoyed the ride, they wouldn't be as stressed about things. They wouldn't be, because you don't have time to be stressed when you're enjoying something. And not saying that stress is a bad thing, because stress is a good thing. Pressure is a good thing. That's how diamonds are made, is with pressure. So yeah. Also, one thing with pearls that was mentioned, pearls are made because of irritation. Keep that in mind. Just saying. So all of that stuff, it isn't a bad thing. At the same time, you still have to enjoy yourself here and there. And that's what I did. When I was in Oklahoma, when I had went through Louisiana, when I was going through Tennessee, my goodness. Now Texas is just, whew, when you drive through Texas, it's like you're driving forever. If you're going cross country, it's like you're stuck in Texas forever. Depending on which way you go. I always recommend going through the upper part of Texas versus through the middle part of Texas, because you'll feel like you're stuck in a time loop. Just saying. But throughout all of that, going through Arizona, when I moved to Texas, going to Arizona was one of my favorite parts, because I was in Tucson and I forgot the name of this hotel, and I have to go through my travel records and pull the information again. I discovered this hotel because, mind you, I was just online looking at hotels. I'm not a big person on like, oh, it has to have this, it has to have that. I can be in that diva mode sometimes, but usually I'm not like that. I'm really not. It's just like, okay, certain things I do want, but it's not like, oh, it has to have room service, and oh, they have to have an indoor swimming pool, or oh, they have to have a bar, which I wouldn't need because I don't drink anyway. But it's not like that. This hotel, I tell you, it was nicer than the Ritz-Carlton, in my opinion. It really was. Because I stayed at the Ritz-Carlton in Sarasota, Florida, and I was underwhelmed. No shade to Ritz-Carlton, but I mean, it is what it is. But this particular little hotel in Tucson, Arizona, it's a casino too. It was beautiful. I just enjoyed my stay there. Now, they could update the baggage carriers or whatever you call them, the carts that you carry your luggage and stuff on. I feel like those could have been updated. But other than that, it was just a very beautiful, charming hotel in Tucson, Arizona. If I ever remember the name, or if I pull it in the near future, I'll go ahead and give it to you guys and recommend it. But the point is that I discovered that hotel on my journey to Dallas. So enjoy the ride is what I'm telling you. Don't get caught up in the once I get to this. Because one thing, and I'll tell you this, because a lot of people who travel, especially the entertainers like singers and comedians and stuff, one thing they mention is that they never really get to enjoy the cities they go to because they're only there for a night or two. It's like they go in, perform at whatever club or stadium or what have you, and then they're out, and then they're on to the next city. So they never really get to enjoy it. And I'm bringing this up because their goal in their life, because these people want to be entertainers, their goal was to become an entertainer. And they were on that journey there. Now, while they were on that journey, they might have had more time to actually enjoy the cities at that time because they may not have been booked and busy. But now they've reached their goal, they're booked and busy, and they don't necessarily have as much time to enjoy the things that they would like to enjoy because they've reached their destination. So that's what I'm telling you. Enjoy the ride. Don't worry about the destination. You already know where you're going. Don't worry about that. In a lot of cases, don't worry about how you're going to get there either. Because trust me, life has a way of going in totally different directions to get you to the same location. It really, really does. I've looked at some things in my life and I'm like, wow, that was really to the side, but I got there. So yeah, but that's the message. That's my daily thought. Enjoy the ride. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Don't put too much stress on yourself to make a certain thing happen to get you to a location or a goal. Because if you're so focused on that, you'll miss some other things too along the way. All right? And that is my daily thought. KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Till next time, be blessed.